Welcome back, the old two-stroker YouTube channel. My name's Wayne. Today we're not really working on junk. We're gonna answer a whole lot of y'all's questions, and hopefully we'll learn something together, right? So I've been super busy in the shop, and none of this makes the channel ever. But building my wife an X5, that's almost done, so that's good. And we've got some new decorations in the shop, which is even better. I don't got enough wall space to get them all up, but we're gonna try. And let me tell you, there is some freaking gold in here. Look at that, eh? Friggin' Marmon poster. And it's got, the back of it's even got dealer models on it. There's two of them in there. That's why you can't see it right now. There's a whole host of them in here. Some of my absolute favorite Detroit diesel advertisements are in here. We'll go through them at some point. Maybe when I hang them up, I'll do a once around on them. But I just want to give a huge shout out, Dan Renovitz. Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate that. Totally made my weekend. While we're on the subject of fan mail, another one of my awesome viewers, Chris Pruitt, sent me this here package, and we should open it and see what's in it. So let's do that. All right, got you on the tripod. Let's crack into this, find out what it is. Now I already know what it is because he sent me an email and said, "Hey, I got this thing kicking around. I've had it forever. Would you like to have it?" And I said, absolutely, I would love to have it because I don't have one. It's one of the very few pieces of documentation that I don't have. Oh, this one's even older than I thought. I've never seen it before or anything like that. How about her? So Chris sent me this when he seen the 271 generator video that we did for the generator we're keeping here. We're going to use as backup power. So this is a fully complete maintenance manual, old school. I mean, this is old enough to where it says GM diesel on it, which is old. Let's see, 63. They changed from GM to Detroit probably a year later, 64, 65. So that's super cool. Look at this. Friggin' sick. Anyway, thanks a bunch, Chris. Really appreciate it. It's in a good home. I'm going to put it right in the cabinet with the machine. And then when I forget things that I'm supposed to know, I'll have it right here. So then, what I thought we would do today is kind of talk a little bit about trucks and why they're rare. What makes a truck rare? What does make a truck rare? I had a lot of questions. I get a lot of questions all the time. You know, I mean, geez, anything from 73 nowadays is pretty much rare. But so what a lot of guys don't understand is and a lot of viewers, they don't understand that back in the 70s, the manufacturers wasn't so much truck manufacturers as it was engine manufacturers, and they kind of had a horsepower war just like they did in muscle cars. Ford, GM, and Chrysler in the late 60s and early 70s. Well, in the 70s, despite the fuel crisis, the truck engine manufacturers, Cummins, Caterpillar, Detroit, Mack joined in the fray a little bit later on. They were a little bit late to the game, but they had like horsepower wars, right? And so not a lot of guys back then, you know, comparatively with all the trucks they were selling, not a lot of guys back then could really afford to swing any of the big horsepower engines, or didn't check that option box. Maybe it wasn't economical for what they were doing. There's a whole host of different reasons why you would spec a truck a certain way, and maybe at some point, if you want, we'll do a video on how to spec a truck, why you would spec a truck a certain way. But anyway, that's what makes a truck rare, is a certain set of specifications that are very uncommon to that particular truck. And it can be all sorts of things, from engine, transmission combination, aluminum frame, aluminum rears. I mean, there's a host of different things that would be very uncommon to the everyday truck, right? And that's a little bit about what I want to talk about today. I'm very will say particular. My wife would say anal retentive about the trucks that I buy and why I buy them. I don't buy everyday run-of-the-mill trucks from way back when because they're not interesting to me. I'm like a total truck geek, and so the trucks I buy that come here and have a forever home here are trucks that there's very few like them left on the planet, if there ever was. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I think today's video, we're going to start with the Cabover. And it's a lot of y'all's favorite truck on the channel. It's definitely my favorite truck on the channel. And what I have here is the actual build sheet from Peterbilt of this truck. And when you got your truck new from Peterbilt, let me see what I got here. What you would get is, now this is missing the cover. I don't know where the cover went, actually. I'm a little bit salty about that because it was here when I brought this out here. But anyway, oh, the cover is here. You would get owner and maintenance manual. Right? Now this is not to the 73. I wish I had that documentation, but I just don't. And it's very rare to get that documentation. I feel like I'm going to say rare a lot in this video, and I don't mean to do that, but I'm at a loss for words on how to describe some of this stuff, so just bear with me, all right? But when you get this, if you'll notice, is the same thing. It'll have your serial number up here, and this is the parts book, which is the same thing as the build sheet. It's essentially a line sheet of every part number used in building the truck from Peterbilt. And all manufacturers have something like this. Whether or not you could still get them, I don't know. I'm pretty sure you get them from Max. I don't know about Brockways. Kenworth, I know you can get them because I have one for my first truck, which was a Kenworth. But, so this is for a 1974 Peterbilt. Let's see if I can find the model here. It's a 172-inch wheelbase, so it's got to be a Cabover, I would imagine. And let's look here. So your date of manufacturer is up in the corner. And the first page of this, the first real page with any real information on it, gives you an overview of the truck specs. So we can see this truck, GVW 29,000. It had an NTC 350 Cummins, 350 horsepower, RTO 12510 transmission, axle ratio 411. So it gives you just the overview, and then breaks it out by category. Goes to frame. There'll be engine category, and it'll tell you all the stuff they used to mount the engine, wheels and tires. These are super handy, and a lot of these numbers, even though, yeah, so here's engine and main transmission. These are different. This section looks a little different depending on what engine manufacturer there is. So a turbo serial number, fuel pump serial number, engine serial number, all that stuff's recorded, so that's what would be original to your truck. And it's a good way to tell if your truck is all original. Goes through steering gear. There's a host of different stuff in here. Every section on the truck is in this catalog, and it's broken out by part number and category. So you can look in here, get the part number, and even though the number's most likely not good, you can call the Peterbilt dealer, and they can cross-reference it. And you could still get some of this stuff. I'm not going to say all of it, but like windshields and windshield gasket for a 359, still available. Pretty cool. Anyway, this is a little bit about how this all this paperwork stuff works. What I think we should do, nobody wants to look at the shop in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go outside to the truck, and we're going to talk about the truck while we look at the truck, and then I can show you exactly what's on here and exactly how it relates. All right, guys, we're back in the truck. Let's get to it, eh? We got a lot to go over. There's a lot of really weird shit on this truck you guys are going to love. Well, I love. I'm hoping you guys will as well. So let's check it out. First, we're going to start with figure we come in here to the inside, the cabin door section of the build sheet. And what I've highlighted here, steering column lower support, P, is polished. That's what, so anything on a Peterbilt part number you see ends in a P is polished, C is chrome. So steering column lower support, polished. Steering column, chrome. Super cool. All still here. Original chrome column, and the base is no longer polished, but we can fix that. And oh, what's this? This is weird. That's new. What do we got here? Wow, look at that, eh? So one of the things I've been most excited about dropping merch wise for you guys has been these keychains. And these are it's a metal keychain, right? All the details of the logo are in here. You got your oil leak, the puddle, chrome valve cover, which actually on the keychain is nickel plated. Real deal. Super nice keychain. You can pick yours up on the website. I hope you do, and I hope you're as excited about it as I am, because I freaking love this thing. Anyway, back to it. What else do we have in here, you say? Well, this thing is like 60 pages of oddball shit. The other thing that's super goofy is the dome lights in this truck. Now, anytime Peterbilt on a build sheet changes something from the regular standard truck spec, they have what's called a build deviation, and there will be a note on the build documentation as well as a star next to it. So this one says there will be a total of 8 dome lights for this truck, 2 mounted in a driver compartment, 2 in a sleeper compartment, and 1 in each of the 4 luggage compartments. And then you see a note for fluorescent light fixture 2. Mount fluorescent lights in sleeper compartment in place of standard dome lights. And let me tell you, I've never seen these before on any other truck. Check them out, huh? Now, I haven't been able to get them to work yet, but I haven't really messed with them either. So we're going to have to take some time and restore those. They look to be in really nice shape, so hopefully it won't fight me too bad. Hopefully we could save them. But super cool, something I've never seen before. That's just one of those oddball deals that you get on a very nicely spec'd truck. The next thing that I wanted to make mention of, cab over cab door for switch. So a lot of you guys were, when I originally got this truck, a lot of people commented, hey, that's an air motor passenger window. And it's not. It's electric, which I knew, but you know, most of these were air. This one is not. It has a power switch down and up, which does actually work, and the electric motor's housed in there. And there's the switch actuator from over there. And it is actually documented on the build sheet here. Switch window, harness window, lift COE, carling up and down, and the power harness. So that is legit. The other oddball thing is this truck was actually specified with 2 air seats. Normally what you'd get in one of these trucks is the air seat that I'm sitting on right here. And the passenger side would have a solid seat. It wouldn't be an air ride seat, and it would have storage underneath it. Now this truck was probably, I know for a fact it was specified for an owner-operator combination, which would mean, you know, like typically like a husband and wife team, which is exactly how this person spec'd this truck. Now, Donald Brooks, who's the original owner of this truck, right there, didn't actually spec this truck. You see it a lot if you go through Peterbilt build documentation, where the people who spec the truck sometimes just don't take delivery of it. I've had a couple super rare, hard to find trucks where someone ordered them and it wasn't who the truck was actually delivered to, new off the line at the dealer. And this is one of those trucks. So, old boy named Cleman Humphrey, let's see here. So on the first actual page of your build sheet will tell you who ordered the truck. Operator Cleman Humphrey, came from Oklahoma Peterbilt, and he's who spec'd this truck. and I'll insert in the video here a picture. There was a small little snippet in an Overdrive magazine in the early 70s. He ordered an Astro as well, and he ordered that with a V12. He was leased to Global Van Lines, and he was notorious for speccing his trucks with a ton of chrome. And the Astro picture that you're looking at right now, you can see it's chrome exhaust, chrome air inlet. That truck also had chrome valve covers. Super cool. I would love to find it. If any of y'all know Cleeman Humphrey out of Oklahoma, and you know he's still alive, because I'm imagining he's probably getting up in years, and can get me in contact with him, I would love to have a chat with that guy, because he knew how to spec a truck. Just super cool. So some of the other things you don't see, and it's not necessarily rare, right? But some of the other things you won't see in another truck are going to be, there it is, the dual pyro. So, although not uncommon to a V12 truck, a dual pyrometer is going to be super rare in anything else. They typically just weren't ordered in anything else. You didn't see them on 871s or 892s or anything of the like. It was typically when you see a dual pyro in a truck, it's a dead giveaway that truck was most likely spec'd with a V12 from the factory. And I don't know why that is, but every V12 truck I've owned, with the exception of one, has had a dual pyrometer from the factory. Why that is, I don't know. I don't know why it was such a popular gauge to get on a V12 as opposed to an 871. The only thing I can think is maybe it was because typically an owner-operator was speccing something with a V12 as opposed to maybe like a fleet or something that spec'd a 318 truck. But I mean, I've seen a billion 318 trucks that were owner-operator trucks, nicely spec'd otherwise, that just didn't have that. So I honestly couldn't tell you why. I'm sure you guys are going to ask me a question, I just don't have an answer for you. So that is most of the cool stuff in here. Some of the other odd things in here, the sun visors are normal. There's nothing weird about them, with the exception of they're still here. The fans are in the sheet. This is odd. These were spec'd. This truck is specifically called out in the build sheet to have these up here, and the load light switch. The load lights are on the back of the cab behind the windows. The windows are another oddball item. They just didn't do a whole lot of windows in the back of 352 cabs. I think that's really about it in here. I don't know, maybe one of you guys could tell me. I have a question as to whether these air conditioners on the roof, it's the condenser, if this switch is normal, or if this was something odd to this truck. I've never encountered that before, so I don't know, and I would love to know. So anyway, let's move on a little bit. I'll tell you a little bit more about this truck and why I like it so much. So, Peterbilt had two styles of grab bar packages. And this has the heavy duty grab bar, which is this one here. Normally on a Pete, you'd have one grab bar as opposed to the two, and it would kind of come down with a hoop here, or just like a little elbow for your foot to set in. The heavy duty grab bar package was two grab bars, one on the top for you to grab and one on the side here. That wasn't there on the normal grab bar. The other thing that I find interesting, I don't know if it was common or uncommon back in the day, but the truck was factory with heated mirrors all the way around, including the small peeker mirror here. I don't even know what you call that, but the visor up on the top here is spec'd as polished originally. And some of the other goofy things that I thought was really cool, and it's more just how preserved this truck is, which is super odd to me, it had, so here we see our aluminum wheel polish outer front too. That's these wheels. No big deal, but what I find odd is, where did I see it? Oh, it changed the page on me. Friggin' wind. There we go. SK 5008 chrome plating, cap on outside right hand chrome. This truck still has all of its original chrome lug nuts on it, all the way around the truck, and they respect. That's the other cool thing. In 73, just about nobody was speccing a truck with Alcoas in the front and Alcoas all the way around in the back. And this truck was specced with all of these just the way you see them, including the chrome lug nuts, which I absolutely love. I think that's super cool. Fuel tank cap chrome is another odd thing I've never seen. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened more than I'm familiar with, but unfortunately it's one of the few things on this truck that I'm missing and I would love to get. If any of you have some period correct, see, these are different than normal style fuel caps because they're threaded all the way like this. If any of you have these in chrome kicking around and would like to get them to me for the project, I will happily buy them from you. I want to bring this truck back to exactly how it looked when it came out of the factory in 73. And there's some really cool things other than this that we've got to find and do. One of them, so the other very goofy deal here, is the rooftop air condensers, which I'm sure you guys are aware of. I'm pretty sure we've been over it, but there's actually two. Let me see if I can get you up there. There's actually two rooftop air condensers, which is a very odd thing. All right, so exhaust, we see our elbows, left hand and right hand, they're both chrome. U-bolts are chrome. The muffler support rack is chrome. Strap elbows chrome. The standpipe is chrome, and the mufflers were chrome, along with a 4-inch rain cap. This exhaust has all been changed. I'm sure it, you know, rotted out over time or whatever, but this is the only piece left of the factory stuff, and you could tell it was all chrome at one point. So this would be chrome. These elbows are chrome. The mufflers were chrome, and then there would be a stack up above here, and it was angle cut, miter cut, whatever you call it, with a 4-inch angle rain cap that was also chrome. Those were the load lights I was talking about earlier. Those were also chrome. Just some super cool oddball stuff. Now, the other thing I want to talk about was the aluminum frame. Now, an aluminum frame is not necessarily a rare thing. As a matter of fact, it's very common out on the West Coast. But you see, Kleeman might have ordered this truck in Oklahoma, which is, for the most part, might be Midwest, but for the most part, it's West Coast, as far as compared to where I am. He ordered it with aluminum rail and aluminum cross member. Now, the weird thing about it is it was also ordered with an aluminum carrier housing, and what's even more bizarre, not bizarre, but cool, I don't know if it's on the front axle still. This truck was actually spec'd with an unheard of, not unheard of, but very rare, 355 rear gear, and it's still in place there. So this is a very long-legged truck. You got tall 22-inch rubber, which is the equivalent of a tall 24.5 nowadays, an overdrive 13, and 355 rear gear. Now, there was actually other trucks spec'd with a 355 rear gear, to the point where Rockwell had, I don't know if it was Rockwell or Peterbilt, had a bulletin telling you not to spec a truck with a 355 rear gear. because 90% of the trucks on the road in that time couldn't power it. You simply couldn't use that much gear back then. You got to remember, 73, the most horsepower in 73 you could get from Cummins was 350. So there was only two big power motors in 73. One was the 475 V12 that this has, which was, I mean, guys, 475 in 1973 was huge power. And then the other one was a 4 1/4 1693 Cat, which is another absolute hoss of its day. I would love to have one at some points on the list of motors for me to own. But the 450 horsepower V8 Cat didn't come out until the later 70s. They were a little late to the game in the V8, the V powertrain, but they had the 6-cylinder game on lock. And then your K-Series Cummins, they didn't come out until the later 70s either. So if you wanted big power, it was either V12 Detroit, or it was, like I said, 1693 Cat. That was it. Otherwise, you got a 290, 300, 350 Cummins. They didn't have a 400. They didn't have, you know, the KTA 450, 525, and 600s like they had in the later 70s. Now, the later 70s, earlier 80s were when the horsepower wars were really nuts. And at that time, the most horsepower you could get from any truck factory was the KTA 600. You could get in the later 70s, kind of mid to late 70s, you could get only some manufacturers did it, Peterbilt did not. You could get a twin turbo V12 from the factory, from Kenworth. You could get it from Freightliner. I don't know if anyone else did it, but I know those two did for a fact. But so the horsepower wars are what's really cool to me. That's what interests me the most about this kind of stuff. You could see here the battery box was all ordered polished. It's on the build sheet, as well as these. This is a build deviation. Not necessarily, it doesn't make the truck any more odd, but these are battery shutoffs, disconnects, and those are specified in the build sheet to be in that particular location and have a separate wiring diagram. The other things that make this truck very different from other trucks in 73 is it actually has front brakes and it has power steering, which you guys have seen me fix. They didn't have power steering then like they do on even the 80s models truck, like my green truck and this V8 Cat truck has, where the power steering is like you're used to in a gear. It's built right into the steering gear. They didn't have that back then. So the only thing you could get was a power assist, which is like what this truck has, where it's got the power drag link, which then operates a cylinder on the actual crossbar there. And that it doesn't work as well as as it does in the gear, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, that's just a little bit about what makes this shit just a little bit different than your average everyday Cabover, which I realize to you guys nowadays that watch this stuff, Cabovers, you don't see them anymore. And the ones you do see, frankly, are ugly. These old school trucks, man, they just got the look. Very, very unique truck, and that's my favorite part about it. The inlet up there was chrome specified originally. Just super cool stuff like that. You're not going to see everywhere else. I'm trying to think about what else I could tell you. I think that's about it. All right, now while we're out here talking about rare trucks that I have, I wanted to talk about Mossy Broke here for a second, because Mossy Broke by itself isn't overly rare. It's a 1980 Peterbilt 359. It's a little bit odd in that in 1980 Detroit had already lost a ton of market share because of the green 92s. They were so bad. So it's a little odd to have a Detroit spec Peterbilt of that era, but it's not by any means what I would consider rare. What is rare about this truck is, and a lot of you have picked up on it, is the color scheme. The green and the yellow are not factory original of this truck. This truck was painted at some point, I don't know exactly when it was leased on to International Transport. Now, International Transport, if you don't know, was a flatbed company, and they run coast to coast with all sorts of flatbed goods, heavy haul stuff, whatever it was. But when you leased onto them, you had to paint their colors, or they would do it for you, but your truck had to be green and yellow. And it could be variations. There was yellow trucks with green stripes and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's what makes this truck rare. You could tell the truck was originally, it was a blue, silver, and a black. Really nice colors, but when it was painted, they went so far as to, I don't even know if you can see that, go out here in the light. When it was painted, they went so far as to scratch out the stock color codes on the warranty tag in green, IT yellow, and the gold. So they put the paint codes for the International Transport. It was an International Transport tractor. I have pictures of it that I'll put in the video here. That's what makes this truck special, not so much as the truck being overly rare spec. I think only one of the really cool options this truck does have is you know, the chrome column, which y'all have seen many times at this point. But the chrome column's original. Other than that, there's nothing super rare about this truck. Matter of fact, these seats were not factory to the truck. Somebody had put them in there at some point, and they just, that's how it came to me, so I left them. But I just thought we'd go over that. Just wanted to clarify, you know, the reason this truck is here is because of its pedigree, who it was leased to back then. Original International Transport trucks are very hard to find nowadays. That company went out of business. They were bought, I think, in the 90s. Don't quote me. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, you're going to see very few of these around. I know a couple of you with keen eyes have picked up on it and asked me in the comments if it is an original International Transport tractor, and it is. I want to say the number was, I want to say it was number 3901. I don't know. You'll see it in the picture I'll put in the video. You'll see it. But that's a little bit about this. Hopefully, this answers more questions than it creates for you guys on kind of the rarity of trucks and what is a collector truck and how that all works, and then kind of what I look for in a truck. To me, a truck nerd is, that's 100% what I am, is a truck nerd, and a truck nerd likes old weird spec trucks that really no one else has. So hopefully I've done you justice and tried to explain some of that. The next one we're gonna do is, I would like to talk to you a little bit more about this long hood Peterbilt 34 with the 3408 in it. It's not an overly rare truck. It is a rare truck, but it's nowhere near as uncommon as, say, that Cabover is. So we'll get into that in the next video. We'll talk a little bit more about why this truck is special, and also what we'll do is we'll go through and kind of clean out the inside and look and see what's in there. I haven't even been through this truck yet. We got it running, pulled it off the trailer, and I've just been balls to the wall, had no time to touch it. So next video, look forward to that. In the meantime, don't forget to get your keychains from the website and whatever other kind of cool stuff I got up there. I know there's koozies, magnets, stickers, t-shirts are coming, so stay tuned. And thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.